was on side.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another Wake Up Wednesday. I just want to apologize for what's going on underneath my eye over here. My eyes keep watering. I have tried everything, it's not working out. So if there's just a gap there where makeup is missing, it's because it is. Quite literally, my makeup just isn't doing what is being told today. But anyway, that's besides the point. I also want to apologize for the fact that this Wake Up Wednesday is coming a day late. If you have me on Twitter, you would know that I did tweet because people were asking me like, where is your Wake Up Wednesday? Why haven't you posted a Wake Up Wednesday? And I decided that I didn't want to post my Wake Up Wednesday. I wanted to refilm the Wake Up Wednesday because of all the stuff that's been going on in London, which I'm going to speak a little bit about in a second. But there's been a lot of devastation and pain and hurt and horrible things happening in London at the moment, and I felt it was only right that I spoke about it. And then yesterday I finally got round to filming a Wake Up Wednesday, and then I didn't like that video either, and I just was like, I'm not gonna put it out. It was basically a long-winded video where I spoke about you know, some of the issues within our communities and the things that are happening, and then I feel like I just spoke too much, and I kind of just, after I finished filming, I was like, I don't want to use any of that. So I had to literally be like, I'm gonna film it again for like the third time. So just in case you've been hiding under a rock or you just don't know what's been going on, London is in a crisis, and I'm calling it a crisis because that's what I define it as. There hasn't been any kind of like official state of emergency declared by like our mayor or by the government or anything like that, but this to me is a crisis. Literally, it feels like every other day you read an article, you know, switch on the TV, whatever it is, and somebody has been stabbed or shot or violently, you know, killed or murdered. Literally, it feels like every single day. It feels like every other day there's somebody, you know, and something happening, and it's scary because I even saw the headline of an article that was floating around Twitter that basically said that London becomes, the rates of murders happening in London have surpassed those in New York. And anyone that knows about New York knows that New York is basically like, excuse me for saying it this way, but it's kind of known as like murder central. Is known as the place where a lot of people get murdered, a lot of violence. Obviously, you know, I've never been there before myself, but from what I've seen and people that have traveled there, it looks like a beautiful place, but murders take place frequently. And to know that now the numbers of murders that are happening in London surpass New York for the first time, I think, I don't know how long it's been, but I'm assuming, you know, the first time in years that this has ever happened, is scary. It is devastating, it is scary, it's disheartening, it's troubling, it's all sorts of emotions, especially when, you know, a lot of the time people think that the people that do pass away, or these people that pass away, are all people that, well, they kind of knew what they were getting themselves into. So gang members, or those that are on the roads, those that are about that life, basically about that life, and who, you know, some people would say, well, they should just accept the fact that it's inevitable. You're either going to end up in prison or end up dead. But it's crazy because, you know, just the other day I saw that a 17-year-old was murdered in Tottenham, and you know, apparently she was just walking with her friends and she got shot at and she died. Now that is somebody who, you know, from what I know and from what the article basically was saying, that isn't about that life, that isn't about the roads, that isn't, you know, about that. She's not about that lifestyle. She just got caught in the crossfire, and that is even scarier because you just think like, she's 17, my sister is 17, that could have easily, God forbid, but that could have easily been one of my siblings. I have 3 younger sisters. That could have easily been any one of them, and it's becoming scary because it just feels like it's just going on and on and on. But I'm not here necessarily to tell you, you know, to remind you of how bleak and how horrible things are. I'm not here even to tell you about what I believe are the solutions and the problems and blah blah blah, because there's been a lot of conversation, especially online on Twitter, where people have obviously voiced their opinions, and there's been loads of different people bringing up loads of different reasons, some like some socio-economic reasons, some geographical reasons, obviously people bringing up reasons connected directly to poverty and all sorts of different reasons. And one thing that I do want to say is that nobody is right or wrong. There is no one way of looking at this issue, this crisis, because it's such a complex matter, and we need to remember that. And that's why there can't just be one solution either. You know, some people are saying like, you know, the solution is you know, for, I don't know, for youth services to have funding. Yes, that is one of the solutions, but you can say youth services have funding, but what exactly are they funding? Are they funding counselling and therapy? Are they funding, you know, ways to actually help people so that people can move away, not just help them in that moment so that they then go back to doing the same exact thing that they were doing that could potentially lead to them getting killed, but to actually move away and supporting them? Like, there's so many layers to this. So there's no one size fits all. There's no right or wrong answer. There's no, yeah, this is the way it has to be, otherwise this is going to keep happening. It's such a complex matter, and I promised myself that I wasn't going to talk for ages, but here I am. That was basically a long-winded way of me coming back to the title of this video. So you might be thinking, okay Nissy, the title of your video is The Seed You Plant. What the hell has that got to do with all of this violence and crime and murders and all these horrible things that are happening within our communities in London? And yesterday I basically realized that as I was rambling and as I was talking and I was trying to express like how all of this is affecting people and it affects communities and the different ways you could be looking at it, blah 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 blah, I sat there and I was like, okay, but what am I trying to say? Like, what difference is what I'm saying going to make? And really and truly I kind of sat there and I was like, probably not much. Okay, cool. You know, the people that watch my content anyway are probably not going to be people who are on the roads or that are committing these murders and killings and all that kind of stuff. They're not going to sit down and watch one of my YouTube videos. At least I don't think so anyway. So what exactly, I can't appease them. What exactly am I doing? And then I realized that these people that are committing these things are just that. They are people. And in order for them to get to a point where they feel like they are going to go out into the world and they're going to create death and destruction at their own hands, there must have been certain seeds that were planted as they maybe grew up, or as, you know, they were a little kid, as they were babies, as they were toddlers. There were certain seeds that were or weren't planted in order for them to get to where they are now. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that these people come from us. They come from our communities. As much as we want to distance ourselves and say these people are crazy, how can they just be killing each other? How can they be doing this? How can they be doing that? They come from our communities, as in our spaces, our workspaces, our you know, friendship groups, our circles, our family members. They come from us. And each and every one of us throughout our lives has seeds, different seeds planted into each and every one of us. Some of us, as we grew up, were told you are amazing, you are incredible, you have a purpose that you're going to fulfill, you're going to do well, you're going to go on and you're going to conquer the world. You know, some people are told that you are loved, you are precious, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. That's the seeds that are planted in some people. Whereas in other people, the seeds that are planted in them are, you are nothing, you are worthless, you are destructive, you are death, I wish I never had you, you are a mistake, you are not loved, you don't deserve to be here, you should go and die, you are nothing, this education system is not for you, everything on this planet is not for you, you can't be successful, you can't be this, you can't be all of these seeds that were planted. So now imagine if all of these seeds are planted into different people, and yes, you might sit there and say, but every single person has a choice. Not every single person who is successful or who has chosen to do right in their lives had good seeds planted into them. They might have had absolutely horrible, bad seeds planted into them. People that spoke so much negativity over them. They might have been sexually abused, they were raped, they were beaten up, they watched some one of their family members get shot or stabbed or killed or whatever it is. But they still chose to go down the right path. Yes, I completely understand that. But what about those that didn't choose that path? It's all well and good saying, but it's all about choices. It's all about, well, guess what? We're here now. Some people make the wrong choices. but what are we gonna do now? It's like, you know, the argument that people make, you know, with regards to kids and poverty. You know, kids, you know, don't choose where they're going to be born. They don't choose, you know, if they're going to be born into poverty or be born into a lavish life. Some kids are born into poverty. So for me, I find it really crazy when then, you know, let's say the government, for example, then say we're going to strip free school meals. Okay, right, we get it. You don't want to create a welfare state. You don't want to create a system whereby people just feel like they can scrounge and scrimp and scrape. But those kids, they didn't get to choose their situation. So they're here now. What are you gonna do? You're gonna take things away from them. You're gonna tell them that they don't deserve to at least have some sort of something to support them and to kind of bring them at the maybe same level as other people, to give them a fair shot and a fair chance in life. Is that what you're saying? So that's exactly what I'm going to apply to this situation right now. Okay, certain people haven't made the right decisions. Okay, they've ended up making mistakes. Okay, they've ended up in the wrong places and met with the wrong people and made friends with the wrong people and are doing the wrong thing. But what now? We have to intervene, and we have to think about what we can do. And one of the things that I spoke about in the previous video, I was saying, you know, that there are holistic ways that we can approach these things, and that's one thing that a young lady who I absolutely love and adore, her name is Temi, I think her surname is Akinwale, I'm so sorry if I've said your surname wrong, but Temi, she runs something called the Forefront Project, which is all about holistic approach to people who have dealt with violence and who have essentially been traumatized by the violence that they see. Just imagine for a split second that you are somebody who, yes, ended up on the roads, ended up basically going into a bad circle, bad cycle, all of that kind of stuff. You find yourself in that situation. Cool, you've ended up there, and maybe your best friend has been murdered by one side, and then someone that you knew was murdered in your arms. You've seen someone get stabbed in front of you. You've seen this and you've seen that. Like, a lot of these people, especially these young men that are involved in these lifestyles, are traumatized. They have been through some of the most horrifying and horrific things, and while a lot of us want to write them off and just be like, well, they should have never done it in the first place. Okay, great, that's well, fantastic. You can talk down at them and say, oh, you shouldn't have done it in the first place. Okay, great, but how are we going to deal with it now? What are we going to do? And I think holistic approaches are really, really important. You know, therapy, counseling, being able to support people to bring them out of these situations are super, super important. But that takes a lot of money, effort, training. It takes a lot. And then so I kind of sat back and I thought to myself, okay, these are all great things and these can be achieved, just like the Forefront Project. And there are other, you know, organizations that do amazing jobs. Though the government is deciding to cut and cut and cut and cut from youth services, there are still some people who are still able to make ends meet and are still able to kind of give young people the support that they can. Obviously, if we didn't have as many cuts, it would be helping even more people, but that's a story for another day. I kind of sat back and I thought to myself, okay, so then what can me as an individual who hasn't got training in counseling, who may not necessarily even be able to, like I kind of mentioned before, may not be able to even have that sort of conversation with somebody who is still on the roads, because they would look at me and be like, you don't even understand what I've been through, you don't understand what I'm going through, you don't understand my language, you don't get my circumstance. Yes, you might live in a working class area, you might have friends who are about certain things, and you might have, you know, maybe seen or heard certain things, but you still don't get it because you're not in the thick of it. So me, they probably wouldn't listen to me, but that doesn't mean that I still can't make some sort of difference. And that again goes back to the seeds that I plant. What am I speaking over and telling my siblings, for example? What am I speaking over and telling my little cousins or like family members or other children in my family and friends and people that I know? What seeds am I planting? What am I saying? Am I encouraging them, especially the young ones? Because that's where it needs to start. It needs to start from a young age, where you are imparting things into them, wisdom and knowledge into them of who they are, so that when you recognize yourself, you understand that you don't need to go and do these things. You don't need to go and, you know, feel that the only way that you can be is to be destructive and to kill and to murder. You know, a lot of people say hurt people, and that's exactly what I think this whole situation is. If we started with the people that, you know, are actually going out and doing these things, that means starting within our own communities, that means starting within our own families, and that means starting within our own even homes. If we started off at home, just imagine how much of an impact that could have. You impart impart the right seeds into one person goes and imparts the right seeds into so many other people. I know that some people might be watching this and thinking, what the hell are words or you going and speaking over somebody going to do? Well, listen, actually it can make a big difference. I'm just one individual, right? I have sat in front of a camera, and potentially this could potentially go out to millions of different people. I've had people message me and tell me that, you know, they were considering suicide, that they were you know, miserable, and that they were going through something in their lives, that they were hurting and going through pain, but it was one of my videos and something that I said to encourage them, that motivated them and moved them out of that place. If me as one individual can do that, just imagine how much we could do if just as individuals we didn't necessarily sit in front of a camera, but we imparted and we spoke and we encouraged and we empowered and we spoke life over people rather than death and negativity. Because this world, because the world outside of ourselves already does that. It speaks so much negativity and horrible things over us, especially those that might come from working class backgrounds or black communities or disadvantaged backgrounds. Yeah, let's put it in quotes because that term in itself quite, you know, frustrates me. But just imagine now if you as one individual went and made sure that your little cousin, you spoke over your little cousin and you constantly told your little cousin how amazing he or she was, how great they were, how powerful they were, how much, you know, how much wisdom that they have and how much they can go into the world and do anything that they want to do, and that they need to work hard and that they can pursue their goals and their dreams and all that kind of stuff. Then they go and spoke that into somebody else, and they go and spoke that into somebody else. Essentially all I'm trying to say is that while it might not necessarily make the hugest impact that, you know, we can see right here right now, as in it might not necessarily drop the numbers of people that, you know, that are murdered immediately by the hundreds and thousands, but it could help save one life, because it could stop one person from making one bad decision that could end somebody else's life. And you've got to remember as well that when somebody is murdered and killed, it's not just that one precious life that is taken and affected, it is a whole community that is rocked. That person has friends, that person has family, that person has siblings, that person has other people that are attached to them. So when that life is lost, a whole community of people are devastated, and that's how much of an impact that we need to have. So if that can be the effect of one person being murdered, just imagine what the effect could be of one person planting the right seeds, speaking wisdom and light and love over people rather than negativity and death and destruction over that person. So maybe you're a parent that's watching this. What are you speaking over your children? What are you saying to them? What are you explaining to them about the world that they live in and them as an individual in that world? Yes, especially as a black woman, let me tell you right now, life is not easy. There are things that are going to knock us, things that are going to hurt us, things that are going to destroy us. But guess what? It was because of the things that especially, and I thank God for it, the things that my parents spoke over me and the things that they said to me about how great I was, about how intelligent I was, about how much potential I have. Literally, let me give you a phrase that my mom always says to me, and she still says to this day. She calls me the chosen one. And I know it sounds so cheesy, but I have latched onto that, because I'm like, if I am the chosen one, then hell no am I going to go and ruin my life, or am I going to choose some of the wrong paths to go down. I'm going to go down a path whereby I can be great and I can truly fulfill that title of the chosen one. That's because of what the seeds that were planted into me, and as a result I did better, I progressed, I moved forward. Whereas other people, they're being told daily that they're not loved, that they're not cared about, that they're nothing, that they're worthless, that they're all of these things. And if they are hurt on the inside, how can we expect them to bring out anything else than hurt, death, destruction, pain, suffering? How can we expect them to release anything else out into the world that isn't that, if that is what they've been constantly told, or that's what has been implanted and engraved into them? Now, one thing I do want to say also is that this is not an excuse. This is not me trying to say that, you know, it's an excuse for them to go out and do these things. No, it's just me acknowledging, because putting them outside the margins of society or putting them in prison clearly isn't working. It's not working. We need to try something different. And for me, I completely agree with a holistic approach. I think that there are deeper issues that are going on in our young people and in the people. You need to really deep it. For somebody to really feel like it is okay for them to go and take somebody else's life, to take a knife. Bearing in mind something like a stabbing, for example, you have to be up close and personal to that person for you to be able to stab them. And you hear stories about some people that get stabbed 14, 15, 20 times. You need to really think about what's going on in someone's inside for them to be able to even have the capability to go and do something. So let's start targeting what's going on inside. Let's take holistic approaches. Let's start counseling, you know, and not even necessarily counseling as in you're sitting in a room and you are a professional who has been trained, but just counseling the people around you, speaking to your friends. Maybe you have friends who are about that life, who, you know, believe and say that that is all that they know. You could be a counselor to them. Plant that seed inside of them. You never know. You could be the one deterrent that stops them from carrying on that lifestyle. You just never know. So again, I said this video was going to be short. It's become long, but in order for me to kind of like just stop, otherwise I'll just keep going on and on and on. I just want to challenge you. Take this moment to think, how can I plant the right type of seeds into people, especially if you are a parent, or especially if you you have younger siblings. Like I tell oh my goodness, I make sure my sisters, I know this is going to sound so crazy, but sometimes I'll just go into their room and I'll rile them up and I will tell them to repeat after me. I'll tell them I am great, I am amazing, I am wonderful, I'm the best. Like, and they will have to repeat and they have to shout it, you know, so that they truly believe it. They might not believe it when they first say it and they might think their older sister's crazy, but I do it for a reason. I do it so that in 10, 15 years time, when life gets tough, or when they kind of like, they come to a crossroads where they're trying to make a decision, they'll remember who they are, and they'll remember just how powerful they are, and they'll remember to go down a path that makes sense so that they can live their true potential, so that they can truly be great, not limit themselves, not stop themselves from being amazing and being the greatness that they were put on this planet to be. If so many people knew what a purpose, because a lot of people walk around this earth and they don't even feel like they have a purpose. They just feel like, I'm just here because I'm here, so I might as well go and do whatever it is that I'm gonna go and do. Just imagine what people would do, or what people could be or would be if they thought to themselves, I have a purpose, I am designed, I am made for greatness. They look at themselves like, I am made for greatness. Just imagine the things that could happen and the things that people would be able to do if that is what they believed and knew. But yeah, anyway guys, I just challenge you. I challenge you to go out there and to be that counselor. And I'm not even necessarily saying that you have to go out into your community with a megaphone and tell everyone that they're great. If that's what you want to do, then boy, do it. Some people might think that they, you know, that you're crazy, but do it if that's what you're called to do. But it starts within the smaller communities, and that smaller community is even your home. It starts within your home. What are you telling the people around you? What are you telling them that they are or aren't? What are you telling them that they can and can't do? Are you instilling love into them, or are you instilling hurt and pain and death and destruction? If you're a parent, it's so funny because we were speaking about this in church last week Sunday, but my pastor was basically saying, like, if you're a parent, don't just parent your children, don't just discipline them, because all discipline is going to have in them is an element of fear, and a lot of it is going to build up resentment and anger. Love them. Tell them that they are loved. Tell them that they are great. Tell them that they have a purpose. Tell them that they are destined for amazing and wonderful things. Tell them that they can do whatever it is that they want to do. And I know it will sound cheesy, it will sound cliche, but those are the seeds that need to be planted, because you never know what is going to blossom out of them. You never know what plant or what tree is going to grow just from that little seed that you instilled into that child or that person. So yes guys, I challenge you to go out there and to make sure you plant the right seeds, and even plant the right seeds within yourself. If you're somebody who maybe grew up in a horrible household, or you grew up in a household whereby you were abused, or you were hurt, or you were told that you were nothing and you were worthless, start planting the seeds in yourself, because you're not worthless, you are not nothing, you are designed for a great purpose. There is no such thing as someone being an accident. There is no such such thing. You were designed for a reason and for a purpose. Discover it, find it, try new things, try out things that you never even imagined that you were going to do. Travel, explore, and plant those seeds within yourself so that you can be capable of planting seeds into other people. But anyway guys, I'm going to stop rambling because I know I could just go on and on for ages, but I do want to say, you know, that we're definitely living in a scary time. There are so many things going on in our world right now, and my heart bleeds, and my heart and my prayers and my thoughts go out to all the people that have lost family members, lost friends, people that are just, you know, affected by this violence and this horrible stuff that's going on within our communities. But we need to not wait for anybody else to figure out a solution. We need to take control of our own communities, take control of the things that are happening around us, and make sure that we are just planting the right seeds so that this is not something that just continues. Okay, we might not necessarily, like I said before, this might not be something that, you know, that creates change immediately, but just planting the right seeds might mean that in the next 5 to 10 years time, the other young people who could potentially be going down those same roads might just think twice and might do something different just because of the seeds that you planted inside of them today. So let's start today. Let's start planting those seeds. But anyway guys, I'm gonna go. I'll see you guys again in another Wake Up Wednesday, which will be out next week. And I love and appreciate you all. Just make sure you spread as much love and positivity, especially in this time that we're living in right now. London, oh god, is a lot. But anyway guys, don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you guys again in another video. Stay beautiful.
Dimmer, but the flame still blue. Fire in your eyes, this is all so true. Just know I love ya.